Welcome to another edition of Celtics Roundtable, everybody, on CLNS Media. CLNS Media, the leading online provider of audio video coverage of the Boston Celtics. Evan Valenti, Alex Kungu, Sam Sheehan back for part 2 of this podcast. We talked a lot about the lineups last podcast, how they would be the best used. We came up with maybe not the starting 5, but we call it the crunch time 5. Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart, Avery Bradley, pour one out. Gordon Hayward, Jay Crowder, and Al Horford. Crunch time 5. Sam kind of ended the last podcast talking a little bit about Aron Baynes, one of the newer acquisitions for the Boston Celtics, 1 year, $4+ million. I think he's going to be a help for Boston, and now everybody is going to point to the rebounding numbers and the rebounding percentage. He was in the top 100, the only player on the current Celtics roster right now that was a part of the top 100 in terms of total rebounding percentage on the floor. So that's really great. They had a rebounder there. Alex, do you think that they finally addressed that need? Where are you at with Aron Baynes here, really quick, before I move on to what I think will be a much more explosive topic?
Yeah, real quick. Just one thing to note, Aron Baynes, he hasn't averaged more than 20 minutes per game. So I do think, let's temper expectations just a little bit. He's going to provide help for sure. I don't think it matters whether he starts or doesn't start, because I think his role is going to be similar, which is kind of what Sam was getting at a little bit during part 1, which is it's going to be about preserving Al Horford. It's going to be about those matchups against Andre Drummond, the Brook Lopez's of the world, like having a guy who could just bang down low for maybe like 15, 20 minutes a night. So I think that is going to be a help for us. But I do think where our rebounding help will come in total, though, is the fact that the Celtics have gotten bigger across the board, not just at the 5 spot. So adding guys like DeMarcus Morris, the Gordon Haywards, maybe starting a guy who's not 6 foot like Avery Bradley, like a Jaylen Brown or Marcus Smart, like having size across the board also is what I think is going to be a big factor in helping the rebounding. But Baynes was a very welcome addition, and I think he'll be good in his role regardless of whether that's starting alongside Al or coming off the bench to provide, some front court presence.
So these guys, the Celtics getting a little bit more physical and a little bit more, dirty, chippy, whatever you want to call it. I think that's going to need to be a little bit more of particularly their role players who are not the Gordon Haywards and Isaiah Thomases of the world. Those guys are going to need to be more physical and grind it out a little bit more in the paint. And that's where these guys like, Marcus Morris and Aron Baynes come in. I would be, we'll see what Ante Zizic or, maybe even Gershon Yabusele, if they can get on the court, impress, find their way in the rotation. That would see what they have. But, I think the Celtics are going to need to have a much better rebounding percentage than they did last year if they want to, really make themselves one of the elite 60-win teams in the league this year.
You want to know about another elite team? The most elite team possible is HelloFresh. It's the meal kit delivery service. I know, I nailed this one.
Nailed it.
I hope Levy's proud. That makes cooking more fun so you can focus on the whole experience, not just the final plate. Each week, HelloFresh creates new delicious recipes with step-by-step instructions designed to take around 30 minutes so that everybody from novices to seasoned home cooks short on time can make tasty meals. HelloFresh sources the freshest ingredients measured to the exact quantities needed, so there's no food waste. And they employ 2 full-time registered dietitians on staff who review each recipe to ensure it is nutritionally balanced. Deliver food right to your doorstep in a recyclable insulated box for free, and they're now offering light summer meals and have just introduced breakfast options. Listeners of this show get a very special offer. Get this, because you are a loyal listener to the Boston Celtics newsfeed into this show. You get to use the promo code BEAT30 for $30 off your first week of HelloFresh. Support this production and HelloFresh. Go to HelloFresh.com, enter the promo code BEAT30. It's as seamless as you could possibly be. Now, this is the meat and potatoes of this one, to keep it food-related. Because I actually think this was a much more interesting piece that you put out. It was kind of a think piece, Alex, where you basically asked your Twitter audience, like, what does Boston need to acquire? What's like the one skill set you think Boston still needs? It was kind of playing to both things, like, okay, depth-wise, back to that last podcast, this kind of affects that. And, just in case, maybe that 4th star finally becomes available. Like, let's say you're halfway through the season and some disgruntled star, we all like to use Anthony Davis because we all kind of, peg him to be the guy. But name anybody, that might be available the next couple of months or so. If that person becomes available, does Boston jump at the potential to grab that person? Or do they say, no, we're going to hang on to these assets and we're going to ride it out? Like, I thought you put that in an interesting perspective. You care to expand on that there, Alex?
Yeah, so ever since getting Gordon Hayward, I've kind of been, I've usually always been kind of like a sustainable success, win later, build through the kids type of guy. And I think after getting Gordon Hayward, kind of seeing how we built a team that could potentially close the gap and be maybe at least a top 2 team in the East, maybe like where most people would bet on the Celtics being in the Eastern Conference Finals, you start to realize that you are kind of close to like the ultimate goal. And it makes you wonder, like, would this be the time that you would try to swing for a star? Because unlike last year, where it was, okay, yeah, if we need a star, we can always throw in like Amir Johnson, Tyler Zeller. That's 20 mil right there. We can clear the space real quick. We don't have those type of contracts anymore. So if you make that trade, if it comes up, you would have to almost certainly be sacrificing either key veteran guys, draft picks, or the young guys, or maybe a combination of all 3 of them. So you would almost have to pay the price to be a win-now team. Like, now if the Celtics want to get another star, it comes down to the fact that they're going to have to actually pick a direction. They can't keep having their cake and eat it too. So I thought it was an interesting conversation, because some of the things, like some of the skill sets that people were saying that we needed, and it was kind of like, oh, another perimeter defender, another like running big, another guy who can score on the perimeter. And you just start thinking, Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, Ante Zizic, but all of those guys are still years away. So it's difficult, because it's like, do you wait for those guys while you have a win-now team and risk, losing this team that's already supposed to be pretty good to maybe being as good as this team? Because we don't know what Jaylen Brown's going to be yet. We don't know what Jayson Tatum's going to be. We don't know if even Ante Zizic is going to be like a solid NBA starter. And we don't know where those picks are going to be with LA or with Brooklyn. So it's like, when you have something as certain as like a team that you at least know is going to be a top 2 seed in the East, and you have the assets to at least possibly become a winner again, isn't that more certain than relying on kids? And I don't think there's a right answer to that, but I did think it was something interesting to think about.
Man, it's tough to really criticize, what the Celtics have done. And I think that another thing that kind of makes me skeptical that we're going to see the Celtics add that 4th star is we sort of saw how the markets were treated whenever Danny Ainge got on the phone with like Kevin Pritchard or, Garpax, any of the Bulls management, where, teams, because they see Danny Ainge's high asset pile, his chest filled with, draft picks, they feel free to make more ludicrous demands of the Celtics. And then, I don't know, I mean, maybe they don't actually get angry, but it sort of seems like they kind of get some sour grapes when they're rebuffed and offered, less, which is still the best offer that anyone is offering them for these players. But then, they'd rather sort of, take an offer that is just objectively not as good. And, maybe some of that is just the player valuation with how Chicago and Indiana felt about the players they were getting back. But I just thought it was very strange, and I think that it had something to do with the fact that when you have a lot of assets, teams demand more from you, and I think Danny Ainge and Mike Zarin and the rest of the Celtics front office have really put forward a mandate thus far where they're not going to lose these trades, and they're not going to give up a tremendous amount of value. Maybe if we see injuries or the Celtics are seeming to be a lot closer, maybe that will loosen up a little bit. Alex talking about the title being, right there.
Something's going to happen. Somebody's going to be available at the trade deadline that probably we're not talking about right now. And Boston's going to be rumored to get them. The question is going to be, should Boston pony up what it takes? And my rebuttal to that, Alex, is like, besides Anthony Davis, is there a guy in the NBA that's possibly on the trading block that you would offer up this what seems to be a very lucrative future for a clear shot at sustained title runs? Like, even with Golden State lurking over in the West, like, do you think there's a player besides Ant, because we all say Anthony Davis because he's a freak of nature and an alien? Is there anybody else besides that, or is Anthony? It's like breaking case of emergency when Anthony Davis is available and you press that button and the trade happens. Like, is there anybody else?
Yeah, Kristaps Porzingis for sure. Like, if that happened, I would definitely do it for Kristaps Porzingis. Mostly because of his age, he allows you to still kind of like one, he's good now and will make you a better team right now, but also he's someone you can build around in the future. So because of having that like dual thing, I would definitely do it for Kristaps Porzingis, though not as much for Anthony Davis. Like there'd be a limit with Porzingis, but a high limit with Anthony Davis. Like they could take Brad Stevens too if they wanted to. Like they could have anyone.
No, I'm not going that far. You can't have Brad Stevens. He's untouchable. No
President's
way.
ransom.
Honestly, like the NBA just doesn't have a lot of stars that are also available that we can tell, at least right now, because this time last year, none of us thought Paul George would be like where he is right now. So it's really impossible to tell. But what I can do is I can say it has to be that type of guy that's young enough, maybe either in his prime or a few years to get to his prime. And he's good enough to help us now and give us something that like we need to get that extra push forward, but also like young enough that during that next chapter we can also build around him. And there's just really not that many players in the league that that you could even count as someone that's available, because they're obviously super valuable to their teams. So it is, it is hard.
Hey, Alex, DeMarcus Cousins?
Yeah.
Any interest, or does he not meet your criteria?
Oh, well, I'm interested.
No.
I'm kind of interested in him as a basketball player. I also like basketball players who I feel comfortable can win in a fight. I feel like last year's team, we just had too many guys who couldn't fight, and I would love to have him and
Swag with Morris, Smart,
Let's do it.
DeMarcus.
Let's do it.
Any more Marcuses we can act? We have Marcus, Morris, Marcus Smart, and DeMarcus Cousins.
Here's why I think like kind of like Eric Gordon and some of this stuff. Like I think the DVE is gonna come back to bite us in the ass a little bit with some of these guys. Not DeMarcus Cousins, but just like it's gonna be hard for these guys who make all-star teams like Giannis to like turn down that much money. I guess John Wall just did it. So
to your guys' point about Paul George and possibly like if you brought him in, how expensive would it be? Do you guys think that what Kevin Durant did could possibly get into the heads of like other stars? Do you think he may have set a trend with taking that big a pay cut? And could you see like maybe like other stars who are in like those type of situations potentially saying, okay, like I want to keep this team together, I can take less and wait a little later for my payday? Because
sounds like you're talking to Isaiah Thomas right now, because that's going to be a situation where they're going to have to like beg him to take less money, because I mean he's going to get off. I think they might. I think it's going to be somebody's going to offer him a lucrative contract. I'm not really quite sure who it's going to be, but somebody's going to offer him a lot of money to go play for their team next year. And Boston's going to be like, hey, there are a lot of teams with cap space, but I think Simmons talked about Chicago maybe having a ton of cap space next year. And I mean, and just being able to throw like a lot more money at him, like would that make a difference? I mean, look, I think it's a good point that Durant took less money, and that might pave the way for. He's paving the way for a lot of things. He's paving the way for guys to leave. He's paving the way for guys to take less money.
He probably got a very nasty letter from the players' union about that. Like
he cares though.
I mean, no one cares, but I mean, this is why. I mean, to sort of go next level with some of like the labor stuff, though. Like, I think that is gonna matter. Like, there's more to this like mechanic than like just guys just deciding on their own to take less money. I think I'm a big defender of that. I think guys should be able to do whatever they want to do. It's fine. In the Celtics situation, like we just talked about, I think the thing more with Isaiah Thomas is who else is going to offer him that money. I can't imagine Isaiah just taking the money and leaving Boston. He'll go back to Boston with whatever offer he gets. I would be surprised if anyone gave him much more north of like 26 or 27 million. Like, I don't think anyone's going to max Isaiah Thomas.
Very quickly, because we have a couple of minutes left here. Moving on to everybody's favorite young son, Jayson Tatum, who's been playing out of his mind in the summer league, depending on who you talk to, or has shot inefficiently, depending on who you talk to. Alex, I'm a big fan. I've enjoyed watching him. He's way more skilled. Not way more skilled, but his ability to knock down difficult shots is at this level is a little surprising to me, because the smoothness is still like very new to me. And just watching him knock down
when you say at this level, you mean summer league, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't think he would be this polished offensively like right away. I just didn't think like he'd be able to hit this Dirk fadeaway and it's like almost automatic. Like right now, when he shoots and he misses, I'm kind of shocked. I'm like, whoa, man, because he's hit so many difficult shots, and you just assume he's going to hit a lot of them. So I'm curious to see what your impression of Tatum is at this point.
So as you guys know, I've been pretty high on this guy for a long time. So to be honest with you, like a lot of this isn't really.
Take a victory lap, man.
like a lot of this isn't surprising me. I'm actually a little disappointed in the summer league team in general.
Nice.
Like not in him specifically, but in terms of like the summer league team, because like it's really annoying. It's summer league, like it doesn't matter, but it's kind of annoying how like there wasn't a lot of ball movement except for like the last game. And I think because there's not a lot of ball movement, guys are very stagnant. When guys get the ball, they're already looking to score for themselves. It kind of took away like what I wanted to see from Jayson Tatum as like how he moves in like a more fluid offense. And I think I was interested to see that because I did think that there was some untapped potential with him as like a pick and pop guy, a spot up guy, like a real post guy, like getting the post and exploit mismatches. And I kind of want to see that kind of like strategic stuff play out, even at a level in summer league. But kind of because of the way like this team is kind of set up, and without any true ball handling, anyone that can like set up or have a good feel, what we're seeing is basically like him kind of on his own. And he's just like has to get it. So in a sense, it's a little impressive that the fact that, you know, like no one's out here creating for him and he's still, you know, out there getting buckets and stuff like that. That is impressive. But ultimately, like that's not going to be his game, or that's not going to be the game that we want to see when he's with the Celtics. What you want to see is kind of more of like a 2007 NBA offense, and that's not what's been playing right now. But you know, it is nice to see him hit shots, and it is nice to see him have confidence to be able to like cross people up and take those difficult shots. But you do want to see more of like a realistic view of how he's going to look in the actual like parent team.
Even so, with all that, he's still 53% true shooting despite playing this ancient offense. Would you consider the type of mid-range shots he's been taking? And he hasn't exactly been efficient there. Lakers film room guys have been tweeting that out pretty gleefully. He's still 53% true shooting, and I think given what the Celtics are running, I think that's really impressive.
Yeah, I just have a hard time like trying to install like a. Well, the Lakers are doing it, so it's a little bit different, I guess. But I think the personnel matters. In Boston's personnel, like, they barely have a point guard. And like they were at points during games, like Jaylen Brown is the point guard, and like did Jayson Tatum throwing the ball up. It's like this is not how this is supposed to go. Like we bantered about this back and forth a little bit, Alex, on Twitter. Like you have to, when you evaluate Jayson Tatum, you have to factor in what you talked about exactly. Like there's nobody creating for Jayson Tatum. He's a 19-year-old kid who is the focal point of their offense, to the point where like San Antonio is covering him with 6'10" David Bertans, and they're doing ball denial stuff, and they're double teaming him like almost off the catch. And it's gotten to the point where like, wow, this is superstar like treatment defensively for a kid that's just playing his like 6th or 7th game in a summer league before he even gets to the NBA. So it's hard to evaluate him because look, there are things he needs to work on. I'd like to move the ball more a little bit too, and he has to learn how to do that when he gets double teamed. But again, it's the things that I've seen, I've been uber impressed with, and I keep watching like some of the crazier fadeaways that he hits. Like I watch him on a daily basis because it's just awesome basketball, and I'm like super pumped that he's like this good at these type of shots already. Like as Matt has always talked about, late in the shot clock type shots. Yeah. I just think people should just go crazy with their summer league expectations and let it ride, because it's never come back to disappoint anybody ever in the history of basketball, ever. That's going to do it for this episode of Celtics Roundtable. If you're watching us on YouTube, what's up? Hit the like button below and subscribe to CLNS Media. It helps us out a ton. You guys have no idea. You're listening to us on the go on your phones, whether it's Android or iPhone. Make sure you subscribe to the Boston Celtics news feed on iTunes. We're available on your favorite podcast app, Stitcher, iTunes, doesn't matter. You can download the CLNS Radio mobile app in whatever app store you use. Follow us on Twitter at CLNS Roundtable. Everybody else's Twitter handle is also in the graphics somewhere, so follow us all there too if you don't do that already. Shame on you if you don't do that. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and as I said last time, you can give us a review, be constructive with a criticism, or just be mean to Sam Sheehan. That's also, totally possible.
Totally good.
Totally good. He said it himself. He says it's fine. Mm-hmm. We'll be back with more Celtics Roundtable episodes. For Alex Kungu of CelticsBlog, for Sam Sheehan, I'm Evan Valenti. We'll see you next time. Yeah, we should definitely use this as the intro.
We need to get this shit here. I feel so fucking stupid not knowing this was a thing. It rules. It's so good.
It's really great.
I just love that it very clearly refers to drive-by shootings, and Tatum is the goodest lad of all. It's so funny to have a song
I wish they like to be a rap part, like a part of a verse dedicated to how he respects women. That would be the real.
I want the remix when Tatum has a verse about Meals on Wheels and just, helping the other.
Oh my god.
That would be phenomenal. Anybody ever tell you look like Aaron Rodgers, Sheehan?
Oh boy, no. I mean, hey, wait, doesn't he date Olivia Munn?
Used to. I think they broke up. I think she's a little too freaky.
All right, I can figure that. Yo, Olivia, get at your mans.
Yeah. So grab on it. There you go. That's it.